What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the death of Xbox because it has been an absolute bloodbath for the brand the last 72 hours. Even the most hardcore Xbox aficionados, the people that completely love the brand and cheerlead Game Pass, at this point have totally given up. The studios they buy are the studios they close. And even if you did actually enjoy Xbox like 5 years ago, you have to look at the painting on the wall. They're not coming out with new games. They're not even trying to hype up their own projects with trailers. At this point, Xbox has given up. And today specifically, I want to take a look at a huge insider article that was just put up over on IGN talking to tons of sources inside of Bethesda and Microsoft and Xbox and talk about how this imploded and how a lot of it is Phil Spencer's fault. Let's get into it. Hi, I hope you're having a great day. If you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, before anything else, we need to talk about where this came from and why we know that it's actually legit. So it was written by Ryan McCaffrey. I have in the past been kind of hard here and there to Ryan McCaffrey because he is very much an Xbox simp. He has been running an Xbox podcast for over a decade. He is a guy who is a professional fanboy. But I mean, honestly, it's just part of his job. I don't think this guy is going home and kissing a picture of Phil Spencer that he keeps in his wallet. I think he's a guy who is paid to cheerlead Xbox, and he does that job dutifully. But even he has realized that it's over. The party, the renaissance, the heyday of Xbox has long since passed. Now, what's crazy is that not only does he roast it, not only does he cite some very unique sources, but if you look at the replies, people are sort of agreeing and proving it's legit. Like, this is Larry Herb. This is the guy who worked at Xbox for 20 years, and even he is just sort of being like, yeah, you're kind of dropping hot fire here. Look at this. Everybody's being like, wow. You can actually see Seamus Blackley. This is the inventor of the Xbox. Even he's called the father of Xbox. Even he is talking about the fact that there are these quotes that Xbox is dead and now it's just Microsoft Gaming. But let's actually go through it. Let's actually take a look at this because I've read the whole thing twice and I must admit, I am shocked at how bleak the entire dumpster fire billion-dollar mess this has evolved into. Phil Spencer and the battle for Xbox's soul. Once a scrappy startup with a buttoned-up institution, Xbox and its longtime leader are now struggling to resist buckling under the weight of being the very thing they once stood against. Now, I will admit, this is part of why I feel like Xbox fanboys in the past, I kind of understood it. They definitely had that underdog vibe of like, oh yeah, okay, so Sony's selling 80 billion consoles, they're creating huge AAAs, but if you really want to cheer for the underdog, you root for Xbox. They can't compete with Nintendo's brand loyalty, they can't make games as big and beautiful as Sony, but the vibe of Xbox, it's definitely something that stands out. But look at this. For the umpteenth time in the past decade, Xbox has once again stepped on a rake. Microsoft has found itself on the wrong end of bad news. And as usual, it's self-inflicted. Just as Team Green was starting to gather some positive momentum, with the Fallout TV show being the biggest thing ever, Fallout games being among the top games in the world being played, and now Senua's Saga coming out here in just a couple weeks, it seems like everything would be good, especially going into their showcase on June 9th, and yet now it's all managed to fall apart because they're closing 3 very beloved studios: Tango Gameworks, Arcane Austin, and Alpha Dog, which obviously people are talking less about Alpha Dog, but they are a sort of a mobile branch. They made a mobile version of Doom that some of my friends that were playing said it was actually good, so it being shuttered is bizarre. But look at this. Fans were quick to point out how Now hypocritical, many quotes from Xbox executives, such as studio marketing boss Aaron Greenberg, have been. Like, look at this. Last year, literally 1 year ago, he said, oh yeah, Hi-Fi Rush has been a gigantic success by every single key metric. It's getting played a bunch, it's getting crazy reviews, it's exactly what Xbox wanted, and yet they decided to shut it down anyways. Look at that. We could not be happier with Tango. Then why did you close them? In 2021 documentary called Power On, Sarah Bond, which is the president of Xbox, said they were trying to avoid closing studios. Power On was this documentary kind of about the history of Xbox, and they said that a specific goal they were looking to not repeat is buying a studio, in that case, obviously the fabled developer Lionhead, and then once they got it, they ended up forcing them to make a multiplayer game, a multiplayer freaking Fable, which was terrible, and it ended up completely shutting down the studio. And they were like, okay, we need to stop doing that. And 1 year ago, in the wake of Redfall's disastrous launch, Phil Spencer directly said the words, one thing I don't want to do is push against the creative aspirations of our teams. When a team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, or a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to do Hi-Fi Rush. Look at this. When everyone is doing things, they could have done Evil Within 3, but I want to give teams the creative platform to push their ability and push their aspirations. Now, here is my favorite line of this entire article. It's why I reread it twice. At best, these once reassuring quotes ring hollow. At worst, they're outright lies. A lot of the interestingness that's been happening, especially over the course of the last 48 hours, is people asking, are these people lying? Is Phil Spencer actually coming out here and saying things that he knows isn't true? I mean, I even put out a video last night talking about the fact that Sarah Bond pretty much refuses to talk about it. She was directly asked about the closure of Tango, and she was just like, oh, there's a lot of subjective metrics. What does that even mean? Like right here, is Aaron Greenberg lying when he said that they could not be happier with Tango? Was he lying that the game performed well, or is he lying that Tango is actually up to snuff? Like, some part of this is definitely a lie. It's hard to tell which part is a lie, but they're literally lying. Look at this. We've come a long way from Xbox fans proudly cheering, I trust Phil. People used to post these. I want to show you this meme because honestly, it's so cringe. I believe in Phil Spencer. Why were you guys even making like fake political posters for these game developers? Somebody actually tweeted me yesterday and they said, Max doesn't burn against Nintendo enough. He doesn't roast PlayStation enough, when honestly, anybody who's been watching me for a long time knows I absolutely do. I've done multiple viral videos, especially roasting Nintendo for stuff like their old Nintendo Switch Online headset and stuff. My point is the fact that my rule has always been that these companies are not your friends. They're not your buddies. They're not your pals. They're not your schoolyard buddy trying to make some cool project. These are companies. And I think it is okay to buy into hype. I mean, life is short. If you want to get excited, if you want to get yourself really amped about a project, even if it is just a CGI trailer with no gameplay in it, I'm not going to tell someone, don't be excited, because you know what? Do whatever makes you happy. I think, though, that people go this step further and they want to defend brands. Not just defending people, they want to defend these brands like they're their friends. And in my opinion, not only is that counterproductive, I think it is just generally, I think it's bad for the industry. I think we should, if you love something, you should be more willing to roast it. Xbox fans, I will fully say, I respect the fact that Xbox fans are first in line to roast Xbox when they mess up. And I think that's been a really interesting turn of events for this last 48 hours. But look at this. Bloomberg last night also reported that Microsoft is not done making cuts. They're going to be firing a bunch more people. But here's the part I specifically wanted to highlight in this, which is where I spoke to two former longtime employees separately, and both lamented the current state of the business. Now, when a website like Kotaku or IGN or GameSpot or Bloomberg in the previous case actually posts quotes like this, you have to believe them because of how their sourcing works. These guys have access to stuff that general YouTubers don't have. I have a chance to talk secretly. I've had some like cool secret meetings with people, but a lot of times it's stuff that's very off the record. I have heard all sorts of crazy off the record stuff, even from people inside of Microsoft, but I can't report on it because a lot of times it's stuff that's difficult to verify. I can't tell if it's just a drunk guy, saying things he shouldn't say. A couple of years ago, I leaked some stuff about Fallout 76 because I did actually just run into Fallout 76 developers at a video game bar, and they were just talking about how they didn't really care if people liked Fallout 76 because they were going to get paid and it was a live service game, and as long as people were logging in, screw the game. But stuff like that. This quote is interesting to me because I think it really shows how bleak the situation is that these people are willing to talk on the record, to have these quotes actually used. One told me, prior to this week's awful studio closures, I had a lengthy conversation with a bunch of Xbox founders, and we all came to the same conclusion. It is no longer Xbox, but Microsoft Gaming. Now, some people would say, why is that necessarily a bad thing? How is it that you can like Microsoft games, but you don't like Microsoft? I think it comes down to the fact that Microsoft is not a video game company. They are a software company. They sell you Teams and freaking calling programs and Microsoft Word and Windows. Microsoft is that. They are a tech company trying to get you to subscribe to their services. Whereas when I think of video games, I think of big interactive worlds. Even games I don't particularly like. I really liked Crackdown 1 and Crackdown 2, but I didn't like Crackdown 3. But you can definitely say, even as a hater of Crackdown like I am, that game had a unique taste to it. The ideas, the production, the entire presentation visually and stuff, it was a unique experience that was made by gamers for gamers. Microsoft Gaming is not a corporation that's going to care as much about quality or presentation. To them, it's just about a checkbook, a balancing act. But I'm going to keep going here. Oh, gosh. This is so weird that, honestly, a lot of people are basically chiming in on that. I wanted to actually go over this real quick. Back to Seamus Blackley. This is the literal father of Xbox, and he says this: I'm having some tea in a crappy hotel room, thinking about Xbox, thinking about all the developers who have lost their jobs. It's so scary. It's so hard to imagine. It's so hard to make creative things. It takes a lot of courage. I'm thinking of all of you, and I'm sending my love. Now, that in conjunction with this sad face here, I think it's pretty clear that this is a true statement, that Xbox is gone. That even if you did at one point enjoy the aesthetic and presentation of this company, the people that actually made it have abandoned ship long ago. But let me go back to it here. So this is here. The other person I chatted with at length said that Bethesda has been a bloodbath and believes Xbox is now too quick to... The other person I chatted with at length after the Bethesda bloodbath believes Xbox is now too big to quickly or easily get its house in order. There's just so much surface area. You have effectively 3 large companies at play, and Microsoft never really finished the integration of Bethesda, and now Activision is like 3 times bigger than just Xbox was. They added that when the Xbox 360 launched, the Xbox team was just a couple hundred people, and now Xbox has almost 30,000 people in their game dev army. It's insane. This growth has led to, in this Xbox veteran's opinion, increased oversight and meddling further up the Xbox food chain. Microsoft is definitely trying to figure out how to make Xbox as profitable as possible, even if it ends up screwing over the gamers, or in this case, the game developers. The reason this seems so inconsistent with previous Xbox leadership team statements is that these decisions probably aren't being made by Phil. They're getting dictated by Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella, Microsoft CFO Amy Hood, and it all seems like it stems from these Xbox acquisitions, specifically the Activision one. When I see quotes like this, that this is just a board level decision, I'm going to use a word I don't use very often. This disgusts me. I actually did a tweet just a bit ago because honestly, this entire situation to me feels completely misguided. Like right here, I said that I don't think anybody in Xbox even knows why they closed Tango. Like someone in Microsoft at some point did some math on a napkin and said, oh, we need to close a studio, let's shut down Tango. And I think they instantly realized they've messed up. I simply cannot believe that any sane person would look at Arcane's track history or Tango's newest project and say, oh yeah, those guys suck. In fact, somebody found this. The president of Xbox tweeted to Tango, like wishing them a happy birthday 2 months ago. Like, why would they do that if they were imminently planning on shutting the studio down? This entire article is good because I do feel like it shines a very hot spotlight on the fact that this is just not a brand that you can believe in. It's difficult to say who specifically managed to completely screw over Xbox, but whether it is Phil Spencer or Sarah Bond or whatever, I feel like it's very clearly most on the shoulders of Phil Spencer. This guy has been that face of Xbox, the guy who's like, hey, I'm here to try and bring us back. I'm going to give us the best games for the lowest cost. And now here we are 10 years into it, and the guy has not really delivered on a single promise. Like, yeah, he gave people backwards compatibility. He did work on the accessibility controllers. He really did boost some Game Pass numbers for a bit. But at this point, where are the games? Where is the future? Where is the hope? I don't get it. Phil Spencer, way to go. You did it, buddy. You managed to piss off the fans that were paying your bills. But thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and be sure to keep dreaming. Also, it is interesting that Phil Spencer is still silent because typically he has publicly responded. I still think we're probably going to get a statement today. He's going to drop it at like a Friday afternoon to hope nobody reports on it, but I promise I will.
Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.